talk now, yeah?
One job, Gav. One job.
You knew I was going to do that, didn't you? You knew I was going to do that. Right, good evening, everybody. I'm Gav from She-War. Apart from having a child who I think just tucked his finger into the sweetie drawer, joining me this evening from down south, Paul, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good, mate. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And out west, Mike, how are you doing?
I'm well, Gav. Good to hear from you.
And you, matey. Like I say, we're multi-continental this evening, aren't we?
Yeah.
Multi-continental.
Yeah, we've got the globe covered.
Globe trotting. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, it was what it was tonight. We all knew what it was going to be. I'll start with you, Mike. Was you a little bit surprised that there wasn't more youngsters starting the game? Would you have started a few more, perhaps? Or do you think Arteta sort of got the balance right with team morale as it is at the moment?
I wasn't surprised because looking at Arteta's pattern of being conservative with the youngsters, I wasn't surprised. But quite honestly, that really concerns me. I know we won. I know we won the group. I know we've won every game and all those good things. But my concern is that with the senior players at Arsenal not producing and blowing it up in a bad way, I'm concerned that this might sound too dramatic, but that we're going to want to sell these senior players sooner rather than later, and I'm concerned that we may actually lose some of the youngsters who are going to get disillusioned. I mean, I don't know why on earth Balogun doesn't start the game, and I don't know why Aziz doesn't come on when Ceballos came on. I see no logic in that, and I know he played, and we can be positive about his first game, but here's the thing: there's not going to be another game this season that I can see that Balogun and Aziz are going to get on the field because it's going to get important. Even the Carabao Cup, Manchester City, they're not going to be playing in that game. So these are guys you want to keep at the club. This is the future of the club, and you had a golden opportunity to give them significant minutes, not just in this game, but in other games as well. And I hope that doesn't come back to bite the club because there's going to come a time where Ceballos and Xhaka and Lacazette and all these guys that we don't really want at Arsenal are going to be gone sooner rather than later. And we're going to want these guys to want to play for Arsenal, not want to go play for another club because they weren't given enough chances. So I'm a little bit upset by all of that. That might be overdoing it, but I really feel that way, Gav.
Oh, fair one, Paul.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. I was really surprised not to see, way more youngsters starting it. And it's even harder when you see the people that do start it and they kind of shit for like the first 80 minutes, like the players that are being picked from the senior squad. You'd expect them to be running all over a team like Dundalk. And tonight, they were just, I don't know, like some of the star players that you'd expect to kind of shine in a game like this. Didn't seem to. They seem to be at their level, So
yeah.
I couldn't wait to get Balogun and those guys. It was nice to see Cottrell get a start, and Aziz. I've been waiting for him to start since he came on my radar a couple of years ago, and I thought he was great tonight. I would have loved to have seen him from the start, to be honest.
See, that's the thing. I was kind of happy with. Chambers, Cedric, Pepe. You can understand why them three are on the pitch, yeah.
No.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Chambers is just coming back from injury. He needs minutes on the pitch.
Hey, you mentioned three people. There's one that I can't agree with. I just thought Pepe was his usual. Like I agree with you, Mike. Pepe was almost brought down to their level, wasn't he? Let's be honest. He weren't. Yeah. I know he got an assist, didn't he? But that was just luck, actually, because he kind of screwed up a pass. It bounced off somebody else, came through to him, and then he looked like he was going to try and shoot and laid it off, which I thought was, I expected him to shoot, to be honest, by the game he's been playing. Anyway, so Gav, to go back to your earlier point, those three people that you said, well, I disagree with one of them. I would have loved to see somebody else start.
All right, Mike Pepe.
Yeah. He's played in two of the other games recently to try to regain his confidence, and he did that. He didn't really help himself this evening. He did, like Paul said, It's not as if he's not played recently or not been playing much this season. There wasn't really a need for him to play. I just feel like I can't remember the last time Arsenal had a complete freebie. I mean, there's always a need in the last game normally to try to win the group, so you don't have to play somebody who's won the group. A complete and utter freebie. And I'm not saying he's blown it because he played some of these guys, but I'm wondering. Here's a thought for you. We don't manage these levels of players and these academy players who are on bigger contracts than they were when we were younger, and who probably feel watching the first team that they deserve more. So do you think that the reason that they don't play more is just simply the new generation and the whole entitlement thing? And so let's say, for example, you start Balogun in the last 2 Europa games and then he plays quite well and you don't really want to play him in the Premier League yet, and he gets at the huff and wants to leave because he feels like he's entitled, and same with Aziz. So that's the only reasoning I can come up with, because logic doesn't tell me that should be happening when you get a complete freebie of a game.
No, I mean, I thought Eddie did well for his first goal. He chased it down, nicked it, scored, and he's done that a couple of times. And I believe he's now our top scorer this season, which is quite remarkable. And it did seem that it was a planned 60-30 split, because Eddie more or less went off bang on the 60 minutes. So it looked like a 60-30 contrived split. And I don't know. Do the youngsters know the fact that, look, you're getting half an hour, you've got to whack everything into your half an hour. Whereas, would you get that out, same sort of productivity out of him for a full game at that age? It's really an odd one. And the odd one with Balogun, obviously, it's well documented that his contract is soon to expire. And as you earlier said rightly, Mike, that he's not likely to be playing a lot more this season for the first team. You wouldn't have thought. So it's really down to us to tie him down on a decent loan deal. We've really got to get him into a championship side, or either a lower division, French or German team. That he needs to progress, and what he needs that arm around his shoulder. He needs to. The thing about the youngsters is, you can sometimes have a very, very good youngster, but if his progression is blocked by 2 or 3 better players, either 2 or 3 years older than him, or a player mid-20s in the first team, then the player has to move on. But with Balogun, Mike, Paul, we'll go over to you. It almost seems like if he can step this up, he's going to be pushing for a place on the bench. He's going to start pushing Eddie now, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think rightfully so. I think that there's qualities to Balogun's play that I prefer to see. I think as much as I rate Eddie, he can come under the same kind of scrutiny that Lacazette was getting when he was playing in that role. Is that, there's a lot of balls that bounce off him. He comes back to collect, and then instead of dropping a shoulder and turning and maybe being through, he has a tendency to want to keep playing it back, which we all do. So I'm not finding Eddie particularly productive. I know he's scored maybe 3 or 4, and he's our top scoring player. But there's elements of his play that I still find frustrating, and I think Balogun seems to have, maybe it's because he's take the opportunity and seize the bull by the horns, as it were. But I think he seems to be more positive, more physical. He seems to own his space better. He's just more of a presence. I find Eddie kind of gets bounced off of defenders, a little too much for my liking. So yeah, I think that Balogun is going to challenge Eddie for that spot. And Mike,
Mike, his goal, cool, calm, collected, dropped it, opened up the hip, smacked it in the corner. The keeper was no keeper would have saved that, would they? Yeah. To me, you may have seen him a couple of times more than myself, but he seems more of a 9 to 10 stroke striker, whereas Eddie's just a flat 9. Is that how you're seeing the difference between the two of them?
No, not so much. I think he's an off the shoulder 9, and once the ball played in behind, I think Eddie's very similar to Lacazette. I think Paul makes a good point there. Eddie doesn't have a whole lot to his game, much like Aubameyang doesn't have a whole lot to his game. Did I say Lacazette? I meant Aubameyang. Sorry. Aubameyang Aubameyang and Eddie, I think, are similar because if they don't score, you're not getting a whole lot of productivity. But my concern is, that Lacazette's been the one out of form. If Eddie would have taken the minutes he did last season from Lacazette in the Premier League and maybe got the starts and got some of the minutes from Lacazette, then he wouldn't have had to get his minutes in the Europa League. Then Balogun would have got the minutes. And here's the thing, in the summer, I'm sure everybody would agree that Lacazette's probably one of the players that's most likely to be sold. His contract's going to be up, so he'll be gone. So here's the dilemma. What do you do when you've played this Balogun guy twice for a total of half of a game? And you might have sent him on loan, but does that really tell you that he could be the answer? So you don't have to dip into the market to replace Lacazette. So that's my concern, is Arsenal might have their future centre forward, but we might go through this season and he's played for an hour the whole season and maybe goes to play for, Sunderland or somebody like that. And that doesn't prove that he's good enough for Arsenal. So I think we've just blown an opportunity to find out. Because at this stage, one more thing, at this stage, I think that we should have Balogun on the bench already because he should have been playing a whole lot more, and it should be him, Eddie, and Aubameyang vying for those minutes. But we're leaning into seniors that I think we're going to sell. Very frustrating.
And Mike, yeah, I mean, I get your point, but I think, sorry, Gav, just to interrupt here, but he's still a teenager, right? He's a kid, It's like, and in some ways, it's kind of. It just seems kind of representative of us as Arsenal fans that we're looking for the salvation from like the 19 and 20-year-olds, in our club because we just don't have the quality of seniors. And, it's like, sure, it's great to invest in them as the future and everything. But you saw with Saka. Saka was going to be the new Messiah and we've overplayed him this year. He hasn't really been that productive. I think he's got 2 goals and, 2 assists or 4 assists and many, many minutes of game time. And I just don't think it's feasible to honestly place the kind of, pressure that we do on our youngsters to be the solution, the salvation.
The thing is, though, they at that age they want to play. At that age they will play 3, 4, 5 times a week. That's the thing. That they would physically want to do that and mentally want to do that. And
yeah, but what are we asking?
It's just the ones that can come up with that quality.
What are we asking them to do, though? Are we asking, Balogun to be like a Timo Werner or whatever? Is he the equivalent? He doesn't have the experience. He doesn't have the, all of the things that come with being a striker for 5 or 6 years.
There's Martinelli as well. I mean, you've got to add
also,
Martinelli.
Very inexperienced. I mean, a wonderful runaway goal, Chelsea, and we'd love him to be the solution. And he's got all that, the drive and the physicality and the impetus. But I feel like this is kind of emblematic of the fact that we are desperately clinging to salvation from places that I'm not sure that we really can afford to. I think we need to, the other extreme that we went to was getting people like Willian and stuff that are at the end of their career. But finding somebody on the in-between level that's at the 25, 26-year-old and just about to peak.
That's the big money, though, mate.
I know, but we've just got. We can't continually be like oscillating between like old and inconsistent and young and inexperienced. It's like we keep oscillating between those two things. Mike, maybe I'm speaking rubbish. I don't know.
No, I think my point is more. It's not that I want Balogun to be first choice already, or Martinelli, or even Saka, or any of these guys, but I just feel like when you've got a player that looks like if I said to you, I've travelled into the future 5 years and Balogun is a top Premier League footballer, I don't think you'd be all that surprised. So if that's the case, you'd want that to be at Arsenal. So, my rewinding, my disappointment was that we didn't get rid of Lacazette in the summer, because if you get rid of Lacazette, then you've got Aubameyang, Eddie, Martinelli and Balogun. So Balogun gets some of those minutes, and I just don't think he's going to get enough for us to even know. So I don't want him to start. I just want him to get more minutes so we know. And that's my problem, is I don't think we know, because we don't.
That's why Mike. That's why the only solution really is he needs a good loan deal. And I'm not talking like, no disrespect to Sunderland, but they're in the third tier. He needs a championship side. He needs, a bottom of the league French or German side, and he needs somewhere where he's going to get 80 to 90 minutes week in, week out. because as it stands at the moment, with Martinelli coming back, he's almost like fourth or fifth choice.
Yeah.
So he's not, there's nothing that he can actually do about that apart from, score a 30-minute hat trick tonight. He done his job. He looked good. He was holding up the ball well. He was dropping deep. He was getting on the end of things. He took his finish well. He done everything perfectly right. Arteta can be nothing but extremely delighted with. He was probably the highlight of the game to me. But like I say, there's no way in the world he's going to be playing Premiership football. And obviously, we're out of the EFL Cup or whatever they call it, where we play our under 23s. We went out of that the other night, 3-0. So he's not going to get any minutes at playing against the third or fourth tier.
Yeah, I would just
the rest of the season either.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. And should he go out on loan and get a lot of minutes? That's not a bad idea. I mean, that's a definite option and a solution, no doubt. Here's my thing, though. Eddie's played. I mean, you'd have to tell me how many games or minutes Eddie's played. I don't keep up with stats so well, but we relied on Eddie last season. He was first choice for a decent while, and he's only just a little bit older than Balogun. So I'm just thinking, if Arsenal have proved that they're willing to do it with youngsters, then why some but not others?
Yeah, no. Listen, I agree with you, Mike, because I also think he should have started, and I do want to see him get more minutes. I don't want him to be like a Gnabry or somebody who doesn't get utilized fairly, and then goes out on loan and has to deal with some shitty fucking rugby managers, struggles with that, and then eventually goes, well, you know what, like I've been yours for however many years that he was at the club, and it's like, I've got better offers and I'm leaving. That's not, I don't want that to happen to any of our players. There were already a couple that we've lost in the last year or so that I would have preferred to see stay. But I don't know. I think that this is kind of the scab on top of another sore that's festering underneath us, and that's about not really knowing, not really having a functioning. Yeah. Even our first and second choice aren't functioning. So like it's just like a domino effect for me. It's like the expectation gets passed. It's like the baton gets passed along to younger and younger and less experienced people to rescue us out of a hole. And I'm not sure how we get out of the hole that we're in, but I feel like we're in the hole. Watching tonight felt like it,
Yeah, so I mean, my thing is, the championship this season, the tier 2, is very, very competitive, and it will be very, very competitive all year. So I mean, there's probably 8 or 9 teams in the championship where he's going to get his 30 minutes or 60 minutes every week. So anyway, I think we've waxed on about that one. Mike, the conundrum that's Willock. Another goal. I don't think he played too well. I thought he played all right tonight, to be fair. He took his goal well. Do you know what I mean? He opened up the obviously it's a pass back by Balogun. He who held it up superbly there, by the way. Drew the defenders to him. Willock's just sort of slotted it over with his left foot, opened up the space. Another touch to settle himself, and the keeper had no chance. But I thought his overall game was good, and it still bemuses me that he's not playing as much in the Premiership. Yeah.
God, this is going to sound so negative, but I can't wrap my head around it, because here's the thing, we're saying we don't have the squad, we don't have the team, and I've got to disagree with that. It's not perfect and it's nowhere near complete, but we have a functioning modern midfield at London Colney that we do not put on the pitch in Premier League games. For example, you could have any three of El Neni, who's improved this year, Partey, Willock, and Maitland-Niles as your midfield, and get rid of the Xhaka Ceballos thing. And for me, ideally for right now, I would love to see El Neni at the base, with Partey and Maitland-Niles being the running eights, box to box, or Willock as an option, because Willock's even tonight he wasn't spectacular. There wasn't much that was memorable, but yet again he scores. And let's make this super simple. Football's about Arsenal aren't scoring goals. Joe Willock scores goals.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I say, yourself, Paul, Willock tonight, and indeed go on to Maitland-Niles if you want to.
Yeah, well, Willock tonight, I don't think it was his best game. But he was functional, and like Mike says, he's in the right place at the right time, which is what you want, for a box-to-box guy. He's good at carrying it. There was an opportunity, I think it was around the middle of the second half, where we were on the break, and Willock had it with quite a lot of space, and I think we had a 3-on-2 situation, and for some reason, it was just very unlike him. Like, for somebody who has, like a directness about him, he kind of drifted off towards the left, and it wasn't really drawing anyone away. It was like everyone was going for the same space, and it kind of ended up fizzing out and going to nothing, and that was a bit disappointing. But just in general, I think he's like Mike said, he's earned a place. I would like to see that. I think Elneny has been our most consistent, clockwork, very few mistakes. I mean, that goal that he scored today was a world class. I don't know.
Well, who knew he had that in his locker? Who knew he had that?
That Lacazette's one last week was pretty good, but this Elneny one made that one look kind of tame. But so Elneny, I think that he brings a kind of a level of solidity and an energy, and obviously he's got an engine, which is what you need for somebody that's going to play that defensive role. And I would like to see Partey. Hopefully he's going to be okay. I'm not sure if his injury, how bad it was, if he's going to be back for Burnley. But I think Partey, has also proven himself in the kind of cameos that we've had of him. And sure, Willock or Maitland-Niles, both offer. I think they offer kind of a coolness and a calmness and a youthfulness and energy that we could do with. So we've got the solidity.
A little bit more.
Can I just chime in? No. Got a thought here, Gav. I'm just hoping. Yeah, Willock reminds me somewhat of Aaron Ramsey, not all the way around, but I felt that we wasted Aaron Ramsey's time at Arsenal, because to me he was a box-to-box player in a 4-3-3, which we never
played him down the. Wenger played him down the right far too much.
Well, it wasn't just that. He played him in the two, didn't he? So every time Aaron Ramsey went forward, which he still did, we were left with whoever on an island, whether it was Xhaka or Song or whoever it might have been. So Ramsey needed to play in a 4-3-3, so there were two people behind him giving him the freedom to go forward. It's the same with Joe Willock. Joe Willock can score you goals, but he needs to play in a 4-3-3 where he has the freedom to go forward and not be reliant, just like tonight. Otherwise, he was leaving a hole again. So I hope that doesn't turn out for Joe Willock, because I think there's a player there.
Yeah, and Ramsey gave us goals, which we need, right? So, and Willock is similar. So,
the only thing I look at Willock, and I think I'm not sure whether he's still maturing his body shape for his age and size. Do you know what I mean? I want to see him be a bit bigger and a bit meatier.
Although he does hold people. I mean, Gav, when he makes those runs, he's slippery, man. Like, he's Teflon. He bounces off people. He keeps. I've seen him make a few.
I just want to see a bit. I just for his positioning in the pitch. I just want to see a bit. Like I say, I'm not like having a pop or having a dig at him about this.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that obviously different young men's boys develop at different stages,
right?
And they beef out at different stages. So I'm wondering whether Willock is going to be better if he does beef out a little bit more.
Yeah,
whether that's going to sort of improve him.
Maybe a Vieira hidden in there somewhere genetically, because he's not short. I mean, I saw him with Cedric Suarez when they were giving each other a hug after his goal, and he's a good 10 inches. I mean, not that Suarez is tall, but I mean, he looked like he was a good head taller than Suarez. I think Willock is growing, probably still growing, which I think, can only benefit him.
Right. Let's get. We're going to do a bit of a boring one now, Mike, for those who are still listening to us. The keeper. I'm in a little WhatsApp group with the Arsenal cycling boys, and one of them said, I played goalie at a fairly decent standard, and I would have been disappointed with those two. Has Mike gone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, he's gone.
He doesn't want to talk about the keeper.
Doesn't want to talk about keepers. Don't blame him. You're boring keepers, isn't it? Yeah. No. Anyway, right. So this fella's gone. I played in goal at a fairly decent standard, and I'll be disappointed with them 2 goals. And another fella turned around and said, I'm 48. I'm well overweight. I've never played in goal before in my life. I'd be disappointed with them 2 goals. So the question to Mike, would you be disappointed with them 2 goals by the keeper tonight? Can you hear me, Mike?
I'm say that again, Gav. You're breaking up. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, mate. Would you have been disappointed with the 2 goals by the keeper tonight? Do you think that was something that he should have done better with?
I'm not hearing that, Paul. Could you repeat that for me?
Mike, maybe reconnect. Can you hear me?
Yeah, somewhat, yeah.
Maybe you need to just reconnect quickly. But basically, he was saying, if you were the keeper, would you have been disappointed letting in those 2 goals tonight?
Sorry, guys. I'm just going to have to rejig here. You guys are breaking up. Give me a second.
Paul, yourself. I mean, you've got the build of a slippery cat, Paul.
Thanks.
Sorry, is that a slippery gin?
Yes. No, tonight I'm going for the monkey shoulder.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't think the keeper.
Yeah, I would have been disappointed with the second one. I didn't see the first one. The second one, I felt he was maybe just caught a little off balance and reacted a bit slow. I think it was a header, wasn't it? It was a header into the right hand.
Well, kind of. It kind of hit the
back of his head.
I don't know whether you two get the woman that's Karen commentating.
Yeah, Karen. It was a Karen goal.
Yeah, but Karen said she went from it was a beautiful glanced header to he's just angles his head so it hit him off the back of it or it might have hit his shoulder in the space of about 5 seconds. She's possibly the worst commentator, male or female, I've ever fucking heard. She's terrible.
You don't get her. But our guy had a good chirp because he was like, "Oh, what a fantastic header by Hoare," or whatever his name was. And then they showed the replay, and he was like, "Was a great header. If only he'd got to see it."
I think that about sums it up. But it would, like I say, I mean, there's much chatter. Obviously, you can't chat about it on open social media channels because the minute you say that a female commentator is rubbish, which she is rubbish, because we've had her for all the Europa League games, you get accused of some kind of ism. But the fact is, she just does not know what she's talking about.
Is there such a thing as condutism?
Yeah, every kind of ism. You get accused of all sorts of isms if you just dare tell the truth about somebody who isn't white male and balding and fat like us three. No offense, Mike.
Exactly, the pale males. Mike, are you back? Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, keep a mic. We're just basically, apart from my little rant about that commentator, before we close up, just saying, do you think the keeper could have? I mean, do you think the keeper could have done any better with either of them?
I'm not sure. Not enough to warrant criticism for me. I think he impresses me more than he doesn't. I think he has excellent positioning. Whenever there's any threat of a ball over the top or through, he always swallows them up because he sees it quicker, probably quicker than Leno does. Very confident with his feet. You can see that. I'm always concerned with the goalkeeper who's under 6 foot, and I'm assuming he is because there's so much in the Premier League that you have to deal with in the air, in particular. Moving forward, we'll see what happens. I think Arsenal will go back for the Brentford keeper anyway in the summer. So we'll see.
Or even January, we never know.
Yeah.
Anyway, gents, we're coming up to half an hour. I know we sometimes go on a little bit longer than this, sometimes a little bit shorter, but I just think tonight was what it was. If I paraphrase Mike here, you think it was a little bit of a missed opportunity to be playing more of the youngsters. Paul, you're just disappointed your glass is not as big as your gin glass.
I know. It's hard to drink whiskey out of a fishbowl.
For normal. And I had a nice steak whilst watching the first half. So I think it was kind of one of them nights, lads, wasn't it, really?
Not a steak through your heart.
Oh, don't. That was Sunday.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think?
Should we
quickly?
What's that?
what do you guys think of Smith Rowe really quickly? Because I think he's
we didn't really do that.
Closest to all of us helping, because he's actually the one. Balogun we don't necessarily need as much as I think we need the skill set of Smith Rowe.
I was kind of I see Smith Rowe as playing more centrally, and this evening he played predominantly down the left, and during the second half he did swap over to the right side at some point, or vice versa.
So he seems pretty two-footed, right, Mike? Is he well two-footed? As good as Santi, or
no, not Smith Rowe. I wouldn't say. I think he uses his left foot. He doesn't ignore it like some of them. But Gavgat is a good point. He did play left then right, but I think I think one of the wide forwards has the responsibility to wander. I mean, Willian wanders, doesn't he? And you find him centrally. So I think if you are on the left on the team sheet, doesn't mean you have to stay on the left. You can wander and connect, and that's that word there. Connect is what Arsenal are missing. There's a massive, issue with lack of connection between back and front. And again, I'll go back to my original point that Arsenal could have the solution at the club, but he doesn't get to play much, and he's been sitting on the bench for most of the Europa League games. He has been fit for most of them, and he only got to start tonight. So is he the solution? I think none of us know.
Yeah, is he? That's the thing, Mike. I mean, are you going to put him down the middle in front of Willock at the moment? And the answer is no, because Willock's banging on the door, and Willock's been getting the goals, and Willock played a lot last season. So it's Smith Rowe to me tonight, even though, like I say, someone will look it up and show stats that he's played quite a lot of times down the wide. But to me, he was almost shoehorned in tonight, and I'm fed up. And I saw it too much under Wenger. I'm fed up and bored of seeing players shoehorned into positions that aren't their natural positions. So again, to me, he's another one who, like I say, if we rewind 12 months, and I said, you know what, Smith Rowe needs a bloody good loan deal, and he went to Huddersfield and he got a bloody good loan deal. Do you know what I mean? They absolutely loved him up there. So the problem is because he's come back and he's spent 6, 7, 8 months or whatever it was injured.
Yeah.
He's in the same boat. He's lost a year. So, and this is where Adu, Mikel, and Mertesacker, well, probably not Mertesacker to a degree anymore, and whoever's dealing with I think we've got a manager who deals just with the loans and the loan deals these days. They've got to sit down and they've got to seriously think, where the hell is Smith Rowe going to be playing for the rest of the season? Because it shouldn't be in our under-23s pool, should it?
No, I don't think so. But we've got a big problem. We've got too many players. We've got senior players that are off the books, whether you agree with it or not. We've got youngsters that are coming up. We've got old players on huge salaries that seem to be inconsistent and not earning their place. We've got top signings that are, I don't know what the word is to describe. Frustrating. I'm just going to say frustrating.
Earning their money and not doing much.
Yeah, so I think we're in a bit of a shambles, and I feel really sorry for Arteta, and I think people need to be patient, because the problem that he inherited has got worse. But I think the season without the fans and with this kind of COVID fatigue and these guys in the bubble, I can only imagine it's been like really shitty for everybody, and you can see it in sides. They kind of seem to, they're top of, like really performing, and then the next couple of weeks they're losing 3 in a row. It doesn't matter if it's City or, there's very few teams that have been consistent. And I think we're falling foul of that. And I think a run of 4 or 5 games and, 12 points out of 15, and then we're back in the, top third of the table. And then we forget this shitty fucking November and December that we've had.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, Mike, like I say, I will back this over to you, mate. We're in a position, obviously, where we need somebody, to use your words again, to connect.
Yeah.
We need an 8 who can score goals, who can connect the play, who can create chances. And the problem seems to be, look, we've got nobody who can be trusted, who's going to be doing it at the senior level, but we've got 3 or 4 options of kids. and we've got a lot of good kids coming through. So, I mean, it's almost like I'm almost thinking, just bite the bullet, play the bloody kids, just play all of them.
Well, but you could do that. There's a balance though. I think there's 3 players that he could try as the connector that are at the club. One is Saka. He's got the skill set. One is Willian. We thought Willian was being bought as an attacking mid. That was the rumour. Well, he hasn't played there. And the third one is Smith Rowe. And Smith Rowe is the best option if you look at his profile. But what we've done, though, Gav, and this is what's so frustrating, is we've played when we have played with 4 at the back, our connector, we've had a connector, and it's been Willett. That's not his game. That's the worst thing that he does on a football pitch is connect and pass. He doesn't do that. But we played him or we played Lacazette. And Lacazette, to be honest with you, he's played better there than he has at centre forward. But he's not our long-term solution as a connector. And we have the players at the club, but he hasn't put the players that we've got in the position. And Smith Rowe is the one that I think is the most natural to do that. But again, he's not been given a chance. So I just
is it not given the chance or not ready just yet? That's the thing. That I mean, obviously that's the $1 million question. Is when you can only look at Saka, apart from obviously being overplayed this year, and what the England national team to doing was an absolute disgrace. But he's been bought through, pulled out. But I mean, when is the time that, especially in the central midfield sort of areas, it's like, right, okay, I'm giving you the next 5 games. Yeah. Is it down to Arteta to actually make a decision and say, right, next 5 games are yours. You play fucking shit, or you have a stormer. You're having the next 5 games. Is that the sort of like? Does he need to sort of almost like ease the pressure off them so they're comfortable and they know what their role is and they can sort of build into it over a couple of games?
Yeah, and do you know what, Gav? If you were the manager and you did that, I would give you a round of applause. It's the opposite to what our manager does right now. It seems like literally the opposite. If you play well, you don't even make the squad for the next game. And that's what's so bizarre is that, and the answer to your question that you asked is the opportunity was the Europa League. That's gone. It's gone. We've done it now. We played Smith Rowe for 90 minutes and maybe, there was another sub appearance there. So we don't know what the answer is. So I would play him in the Premier League game against Burnley because he's got to be better than Lacazette and Willock as a 10. And it's his natural game. And we have to know before the January transfer window, because you better believe that Arsenal are going to try and sign a creative player, but they might have one at the club, but they don't know because they won't play him.
But Mike, it's hard for I'm just going to put myself in Arteta's shoes. Who's coming under a lot of fire. We've lost 3 games in a row at home. For him to think about Balogun and Balogun's future at the club, when actually if he loses another one at home, like maybe his job's going. It's like it's hard for Arteta. I mean, Arteta has to kind of try and work. Fix an engine while the car is in motion. And I think that it's really hard for him because he does need to get results, and it's hard to completely trust yourself. With kids, and to put that kind of pressure on the kids too. Does it damage them? Do they know that it's being put on them? Do they know that they're the ones running onto the pitch to maybe lose the 4th consecutive game at home? Is that something that's fair to do to those people? I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here, and I'm just like, I think it's easy for us to talk from the point of view of like we're not going to lose our jobs.
How about this? And how about on Sunday? I mean, we normally play 2 kids per game. I think that's probably a fair number. There's about 2 of them out there. Yeah. Saka plus 1. Okay, well, let's give Saka a rest. He needs a rest at some point. Let's play. Reece Nelson would. Well, there's another kid there, but you could play. For example, you could have Pepe and Willian on the. Oh gosh, I said Willian. You could Pepe and Willian on the wings, and you could play Smith Rowe as one of your kids, and not have to play all the kids. Whatever that means to us. And that's the same as we do every weekend. We play senior players plus 2 kids, but I think he's sometimes putting out the wrong kids. Nelson should have had a crack. Smith Rowe should have had a crack, and we're playing the wrong players in the wrong positions.
But against Burnley, that means if he's going to put Smith Rowe on, it means as it is right now, he's going to throw Lacazette off because he's trying to put Lacazette there so that he can put Aubameyang down the middle. So like but then against Burnley, do you want somebody like Smith Rowe or do you want Lacazette? It's more likely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And do you know what, Paul? And I know you like Lacazette, and he has played very well. To me, considering he's a centre forward, being asked to play as a second striker, I've been impressed. But to me is the bottom line, and then I'll shut up because Gav needs to chime in. But do you want to lean into players that you're going to sell? Because I think everybody knows that Lacazette is going to be sold. So do you want to lean into Lacazette, or do you want to lean into actually want to keep? Because if you don't lean into Smith Rowe as an example, then what might happen is Lacazette leaves anyway, and Smith Rowe leaves as well, because he didn't get the opportunity when he knew that he could have been the solution and the club needed the player, and he's waving at them saying, what
is his contract situation right now, Mike? I don't know.
I don't know.
Smith Rowe.
I don't know.
Yeah, Smith Rowe's got a few years left on him. I think he's got at least another 2 years left on him.
I don't know. It's easy for us. When I say easy, it's not that easy to witness it and to be, to invested in it emotionally and spiritually and intellectually like we are, because, we're kind of talking about stuff that we have very little, we can't change it. We're kind of reactionary always because we're not making the selections. We never really get to test drive our ideas. Occasionally the manager might overlap, like Gav on the other day with Chris was saying, why don't they try Lacazette in an 8 to 10 role? And they did. And actually it worked out quite well. It's nice to see that kind of thing. It doesn't happen a lot, But
me being right.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that maybe it's more, I would hate to have to judge. I would hate to have to balance all the different energies on people coming, people going, people staying, people expecting. I don't know what the contracts are saying about how much game time people are going to get. There's energy. You want to keep a guy's confidence up, even though he's been inconsistent, and there's a player there. It's like, it's constantly trying to weigh these things up,
This is the thing, right? We live in an instant world now, right? You get your email instant. And I mean, I saw a thing on some quiz the other day. 120 years ago, there was 3.2 billion letters sent per year in the UK, right? Now, that's probably that in emails a day. Right, we live in an instant world. Everybody wants instant success. Nobody wants to take a step back to rebuild. And what it seems to me at the moment is we're almost on the precipice. Yes, that's a posh word for me, right? Of the early George Graham years, where George Graham got rid of the aging, overpaid superstars, and he pulled through half a dozen kids at exactly the same time in exactly the same team together, right? And that took like I say, that gelled in 2-3 years. Obviously,
but 2-3 years, it's like dog's years these days. 2-3 years.
Well, exactly. Like, I mean, Arteta.
Managers years are dog's years, basically.
He's not going to be given that, and that's the problem. We're in this instant gratification world where, if Arsenal lose one game, where we're getting relegated and we're complete dog shit, or if we win one game, suddenly we're going to win the league again. It's all bollocks. And like I say, the people that know it's all bollocks is the people that are running the club, but it's whether or not they're going to be given the time. And what Arteta needs to be secure in the fact, really, is the fact that he's going to be given the time so that he can play more than the 2 or 3 kids per game. But I mean, if you look, when there's 2 kids playing, there's 3 or 4 others on the bench. So there's at least 5-6 kids. Well, we're saying kids. Do you know what I mean? They're all 19 plus, 19 to 23. But there's still 5 or 6 involved every single match day squad. So why not start playing them all together? Because the way I see it at the moment is we ain't got nothing to fucking lose by doing it.
Failing anyway.
Yeah. Like I say, we've got nothing to, I'm not going to I don't understand why he's playing Ceballos, to be fair, even though Ceballos can be sometimes our best player. It wouldn't bother me if Xhaka fucked off. It wouldn't bother me if every single player, apart from the youth, the kids that come through from Howell End, Upton fucked off tomorrow. It really would not bother me. There's literally no players that I have, apart from the youth, the Howell End boys. There's no player at Arsenal that I have any form of emotional attachment to whatsoever.
I feel the same. So, that's kind of why it's hard to watch football these days. I mean, Chris doesn't want to. Chris is not even watching. I don't feel a connection.
Yeah,
and like I say, it pays itself back. if the kids come through, and if the kids come through it and it works, it's Tierney.
Tierney's awesome. I just wish he would practice with his right foot every now and then. So he could just maybe just.
Okay, I mean, him. He's like I say, he carries on how he's going, and I'm going to put him for a freemanship of the City of London, so he can drive his sheep across London Bridge and all that bollocks. But but him aside, like I say, Bangham, if he went, like I say, it's sad to say, but I would not give a monkeys. Like I say, so
quickly we got to that point. When he was Golden Boot the year before last and runner-up last year, and now we're at the point where we're saying we couldn't give a shit. Meanwhile, when he signed over the summer, it felt like a big deal. I was glad he'd signed because it felt like if we hadn't, we'd gone down the Van Persie kind of route and it would just all have fallen apart. Like the centre wouldn't have held. So it's just we're in a strange fucking time right now. Everything is so accelerated and heightened and as much as we're feeling the pressures of how the world has changed, I'm sure these footballers must be feeling that, multiplied by 10. They're living in a bubble. Except their bubble is highly public. It's like a fishbowl. I think it must be really, really tough, and I feel sorry for anybody.
Well, they're in a bubble anyway. I mean, these professional football players are in a bubble. I mean, you go back and listen to stories about Charlie George. Charlie George, if we'd lost on a Saturday, he couldn't even go down the pub on a Sunday or leave his house. So, these footballers these days are so detached, even from the players that sort of were coming through and I grew up watching. I mean, at least we got to see Tony Adams falling downstairs in nightclubs and, all that lot going out and getting drunk all the time. The players these days are in a complete, complete bubble now. But I don't know. I just really think it's really coming very, very close to the time where Arteta's got to literally either chuck them all out on decent loans or just play them all. Do you know what I mean? Just get on with it. Just chuck four or five of them every game. Just bloody get on with it and let them sink and swim, Mike.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, this is what I foresee happening, and it just keeps coming back to the same point that I'm making. So January, this is what I foresee happening. There's going to be bids for Maitland-Niles. Yeah. Exactly. See, Gav's kid disagrees with me. Exactly. I'm going to make sure that I follow him on Twitter. This is what's going to happen in January. I think Maitland-Niles will have bids again because he's not playing. He played today, but generally speaking, he's not playing. He's not in squads. He's not getting on the field. And when he had a great game in the Europa League at centre midfield, next game, not there to be seen at all. I don't even know if he was even in the squad. Okay, so what's going to happen is that we will be selling Xhaka in the summer. I think everybody feels that that's probably going to happen. So we lose him, and we could lose what could be the replacement in Maitland-Niles because he is fed up. And he knows, you could see in that interview after that game, he knows he's got the legs, he knows he's more dynamic. They're the two things. And he also, and here's another big part of it, he knows that the Premier League needs modern, athletic, dynamic, fast fielders, whether we like that or not. That's what the Premier League needs. And he is that. And so, again, of all the players I mentioned that I think we probably need to play, he's the one I'm most nervous about because he's not a kid. He's 23 years of age. He's the solution to Arsenal's short-term problem at central midfield. He may disappear off to another team in January because he's fed up and we keep Granit Xhaka. So tell me that that's a smart thing because it's not.
Syed says he's going to go to United and replace Pogba.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
Well, see, this is the other thing. I mean, like I say, I know I go back on the history of stuff as well, and it was Paul Davis's birthday yesterday, and he was called Pops.
He was a snooker player,
right? Paul Davis was called Pops by the young players, and he was not only a very, very big role model with regards to the young black players coming through from London at the time. But he was somebody that had gone through the Arsenal ranks who was helping them come through. And if you go for what, and you're taking Mike's side of the story here, that's what Maitland-Niles should be.
Yeah.
Maitland-Niles should be the sort of, the the pops to Saka and to Balogun and to Reece Nelson, someone who's got the experience and who's got the time on the pitch, and they're going to relate more to him by being another Howard End boy than they are from someone like Saka.
Yeah, and
or
also
Ceballos. Do you know what I mean? It's just building a team. I just don't think they've got the right thing about building a team, and it's you could have the 11 best players in the world. They ain't going to win the league. If you've got the best one team in the world, they are going to win the league, and it doesn't necessarily make the best individual 11 players. Because I mean, you can't tell me that. I mean, our famous back five, again rambling on, right? Wasn't the best individually defensive people in the world, but as a unit, they were the best defensive unit.
Right.
So it's too much about. I just see too much that it should be more team building and the sum of the parts, etc., than what's going on at the moment, which is too in and outy. But I'm going to shut up. I could go on a fucking about hours for this one.
Yeah. I think there's a point at which Arteta has to, he's got to, take the dice and give them a throw, because he can't keep doing the same thing, running the same formula. If the only ingredients you're going to use are like garlic and pasta every week, then you're going to get fucking garlic pasta every week. You know what I mean? If you want to change, you're going to have to add a new ingredient, and then it takes some courage to, maybe you'll lose the garlic pasta, lovers, your regulars, but you might, like win a whole new,
Well, no, that's the thing. I don't think we're, like I say, I don't think we're too far off. But that's the story of Arsenal since we moved from Highbury, is we've always been 2 or 3 players far off. Now it's either we start selling the youngsters and trying to buy players in, or we take a step back and realise that this may take a couple of years and play them. And we all know what Kroenke's like with his money, so that's where we are. But at the moment we're trying to do both. And we can't do both. We've either got to, basically, for want of an expression my mate's mum used to say, is you've got to shit or get off the pot.
Yeah. Well, here's another.
You can't do both.
Yeah, the other thing is that we might accidentally fall into a solution because it's December. So he can't play Jacqueline Ceballos, for example, all the way through December. He can't.
No.
So we might accidentally find out that I'm pining for Maitland-Niles as a central midfield solution. Well, we might get to find out that it is, just because he has no choice. The other two are injured or they're fatigued. He has to play, and we get to find this out almost by accident.
Well, some of the best things in the world happen by accident.
Oh, Gav, don't be so hard on yourself.
Coquelin. Remember Coquelin?
Right, gents. On that happy, cheery note, we've gone from winning 4-2, seeing a load of youngsters, to 3 old bastards from 3 corners of the world having a fucking moan up. I think on that note we should wind it in for the evening. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you two esteemed gentlemen. And thank you, Paul, for pressing the buttons. You've got the one job.
Try not to talk over this, Gav.
And well, you know I'm gonna deliberately try and mess it up, don't you? I can't not do it. This little pub chat will be back after the game on Sunday, and up the Arsenal, lads.
Up the Arsenal.
Up the Arsenal.